I thought I had life figured out. 3 years with Amanda felt like building towards something real. Our future seemed crystal clear until that Tuesday evening when she walked through our apartment door with cold eyes. My world shattered in seconds when she said those words. "It is over. My new man is taking me to Paris." I simply nodded and replied with unexpected calmness, "Enjoy your flight." What she never suspected was just how familiar I was with her mystery man. Before I tell you how I discovered my girlfriend's new man was actually my newest intern, take a second to hit subscribe and comment where you are watching from. Trust me, you will want to stick around for what happens next. The morning had started like any other Tuesday. I arrived at the office by 7:30, reviewed the quarterly projections before the team meeting, and finalized a major client proposal that had been keeping me up for weeks. As the Chief Product Officer at Vertex Software Solutions, a growing tech company in Seattle, my days were packed with meetings, development reviews, and strategy sessions. That particular Tuesday should have been special for a different reason. After 3 years with Amanda, I had finally bought the ring, a 2-carat diamond that cost more than my first car. I planned to propose that weekend during our anniversary dinner at Canlis, overlooking the water. The reservation had been made for months. Amanda and I met at a charity gala for Seattle Children's Hospital. I was there representing Vertex as we had just become a major donor. She worked in pharmaceutical sales and had a smile that lit up the dimly lit ballroom. Within minutes of conversation, I felt a connection I had never experienced before. She was intelligent, ambitious, and seemed genuinely interested in my work developing software solutions for healthcare systems. By our third date, I was already imagining our future together. For 3 years, we built what I thought was the perfect relationship. We moved in together after 1 year, adopted a golden retriever named Cooper, and spent holidays with each other's families. We talked about marriage, kids, and the house we would buy in the suburbs once we were ready to leave city life behind. Amanda had met my parents several times and they adored her. My father even pulled me aside during their last visit to ask when I planned to make her officially part of the family. The first signs that something was wrong began about 3 months ago. Amanda started working late more frequently. Her phone would buzz constantly, but she would turn it face down when I entered the room. She became less interested in our weekend plans and more focused on work events that suddenly required her presence. I attributed her distance to stress from a new product launch her company was handling. I tried to be supportive, bringing home dinner when she worked late and giving her space when she seemed overwhelmed. That Tuesday, I left work early to prepare a special dinner at home. Nothing elaborate, just her favorite pasta carbonara and a bottle of the Barolo we discovered during our trip to Italy last year. I wanted to remind her of what we had built together before my proposal that weekend. I set the table, lit candles, and waited. Amanda arrived home around 7, appearing surprised to see me there with dinner ready. She stood in the entryway, not removing her coat or setting down her bag. I noticed immediately that something was different. Her expression was composed, emotionless. I smiled and gestured toward the table. "Come on in. I made your favorite." She remained by the door. "We need to talk, Linus." The tone of her voice sent a chill through my body. I knew instantly what was coming, though I desperately hoped I was wrong. Amanda took a single step forward. "This is not working for me anymore. I have met someone else. Someone who challenges me in ways you never could." The pasta on the table stopped steaming. The candles flickered as if feeling the cold reality entering our home. I stood frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. "How long?" I finally managed to ask. "Long enough to know it is real," she replied, her voice clinical and detached. "I am leaving tonight. He is taking me to Paris for 2 weeks. I already packed most of my things while you were at work." I watched numbly as she walked to our bedroom and wheeled out a large suitcase. 3 years of our relationship reduced to a 5-minute conversation and a hasty exit. "Who is he?" I asked, still struggling to understand how our relationship had collapsed so completely without my awareness. She paused at the door. "Does it matter? He is successful, exciting, and actually pays attention to what I want." She looked around our apartment with a strange detachment. "I will arrange to get the rest of my stuff when I get back from Paris." I stood there, shock gradually, giving way to a hollow feeling in my chest. The ring box felt impossibly heavy in my pocket. My mind raced through every moment of our relationship, searching for signs I might have missed, warnings I had ignored. "When is your flight?" I asked, surprised by how steady my voice sounded despite the chaos inside me. "Tomorrow morning, 10:30. She glanced at her watch, as if impatient to begin her new life. I nodded slowly, a strange calm replacing the initial shock. "Enjoy your flight." She seemed momentarily thrown by my composure, perhaps expecting tears or anger. Without another word, she walked out the door, leaving me standing alone in an apartment that suddenly felt too large and too quiet. That night I barely slept. I lay awake, replaying every recent conversation, every distant look, every canceled plan. The signs had been there, but I had willfully ignored them too, caught up in my vision of our future, to see the reality of our present. By morning, exhaustion had numbed the worst of the pain, replacing it with a dull, persistent ache and a growing sense of anger, not just at Amanda but at myself for being so blind. The following day, I forced myself to go to work, desperate for any distraction from the collapse of my personal life. I arrived earlier than usual, hoping the quiet office would help me collect myself before facing my colleagues. The last thing I needed was office gossip about my breakup. I buried myself in code reviews and budget meetings, responding to emails with mechanical efficiency. Several colleagues commented that I seemed unusually focused. If only they knew that my concentration was just a thin veneer covering a storm of confusion and hurt. Around noon, I headed to the break room for coffee, needing the caffeine to push through the fog of exhaustion. That is when I overheard a conversation that stopped me cold. Jackson Turner, a talented software engineer I had personally recruited as an intern 2 months ago, was on his phone near the window, speaking in hushed but excited tones. Jackson was 24, fresh out of his master's program at Stanford, with the kind of natural coding talent that comes along rarely. I had fought to bring him on board, seeing in him the potential to become a significant asset to the company. "I cannot believe we are really doing this," he was saying, a broad smile on his face. "Paris for 2 weeks. I still cannot believe you chose me." I lingered by the coffee machine, something about his tone triggering an unwelcome suspicion. No, the corporate card is all set," he continued. "Business class seats and everything. The hotel is supposedly right near the Eiffel Tower. We leave tomorrow morning." My hand froze around my coffee mug. Tomorrow morning. The same departure time Amanda had mentioned. Coincidence, I told myself. It had to be. Paris was a popular destination. Many flights left in the morning, but a cold feeling was spreading through my chest. "I have to go." "My boss just walked in," Jackson said hurriedly, ending his call when he noticed me. "Business trip?" I asked casually, pouring my coffee with a steadiness that belied my internal turmoil. Jackson's face flushed slightly. "No, just a vacation. Taking some personal time before the Meridian project kicks into high gear." I nodded, maintaining an expression of mild interest, while my mind raced. Paris. Tomorrow morning. 2 weeks. The parallels were too specific to ignore. "Sounds nice. Have a good time," I said, returning to my office where I immediately sat down at my computer. My hands hovered over the keyboard. Was I really about to investigate one of my employees, based on a fragment of overheard conversation and coincidental timing? Was I becoming paranoid, seeing connections where none existed because of my emotional state? I took a deep breath and decided a small verification would not hurt. I pulled up our company's travel booking system. As an executive, I had access to records of corporate card usage. Jackson's card showed a recent purchase of 2 business-class tickets to Paris on Air France departing at 10:30 tomorrow morning, exactly the time Amanda had mentioned. My stomach clenched. I clicked further, finding a hotel reservation at Le Meurice, one of the most expensive hotels in Paris with a partial view of the Tuileries garden. A reservation for 2 adults for 14 nights. The evidence was mounting, but I still needed absolute confirmation. I pulled up Jackson's employee file, noting his personal email address, then searched for it on social media platforms. His Instagram account was private, but his profile picture was recent enough. I requested to follow him from my rarely used personal account. To my surprise, he accepted within minutes. I scrolled through his recent posts, finding nothing immediately connecting him to Amanda. But then I saw it 3 rows down, a photo of Jackson's hand holding a coffee cup across from another hand with distinctive red nail polish, Amanda's trademark color. The caption read, "Morning coffee with the most amazing person I have ever met. Cannot wait for our adventure." The post was dated 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks during which I had been planning my proposal while my girlfriend was having coffee dates with my intern. I leaned back in my chair, a strange calm settling over me. The shock and pain were still there, but now accompanied by a clarity I had not felt since Amanda's announcement. The pieces were falling into place. The late nights at work, the constant texts, the emotional distance. Over the next hours, I dug deeper. Company lunch receipts showed Jackson regularly charging meals for two at upscale restaurants near Amanda's office. His expense reports included several client gifts from stores where Amanda had recently received mysterious presents. She claimed to have bought herself a designer scarf, an expensive perfume. Each discovery should have intensified my pain, but instead, I felt increasingly detached, analyzing their deception, like one of the system problems I solved at work. In that detachment, a plan began to form. I could confront them both, immediately create a dramatic scene, perhaps even fire Jackson on the spot, but that would give them the opportunity to adjust their plans, to find another way to enjoy their Parisian getaway. No. There was a more fitting response, one that required patience. For the rest of the day, I interacted with Jackson, normally discussing project timelines and code improvements. If he noticed anything unusual in my behavior, he did not show it. I even asked about his upcoming vacation, feigning interest, as he vaguely mentioned plans to explore Europe. "When do you leave?" I asked innocently. "Tomorrow morning," he replied with barely contained excitement. "Do you have everything you need for the trip? Is your corporate card working for the travel expenses?" I inquired, watching his reaction carefully. A flicker of surprise crossed his face before he composed himself. "Everything is all set. The card is working perfectly." "Great," I said with a smile that did not reach my eyes. "Have a wonderful trip." Before leaving the office, I made several quiet preparations. I spoke with our IT department about scheduling a system update that would require employee credential resets upon completion, specifically timing it for the day after Jackson's departure. I reviewed our corporate card policies, confirming the procedure for reporting compromised cards. I checked our employee handbook regarding the proper protocol for termination, particularly for interns still in their probationary period. Each action was calculated, methodical, and completely within company guidelines. Nothing that would raise eyebrows or trigger questions. Just routine administrative matters that happened to align with my developing strategy. That evening, I returned to my apartment, which still bore the signs of Amanda's hasty departure. Her favorite books missing from the shelf, empty spaces in the closet where her clothes had hung. The framed photo of us in Maui turned face down on the dresser. I picked up the photo, studying our smiling faces. We had seemed so happy then. Had it all been an illusion? Or had something changed without my noticing? In the end, I supposed it did not matter. What mattered was what came next. I checked the Air France website, confirming that their flight was still scheduled for 10:30 the next morning. Then I set an alarm and tried to sleep. My mind finally quiet now that I had a plan. The next morning, I woke early and dressed for work as usual. Before leaving, I downloaded the Air France app and entered the flight information. The app showed the flight was on time boarding, scheduled to begin at 9:50. I considered going to the airport, watching them from a distance as they embarked on what they thought would be a romantic getaway. But there was no need. Technology would allow me to execute my plan from anywhere. I arrived at the office and immersed myself in work, occasionally checking the flight status. At 9:45, boarding began. I imagined them joining the priority line, Jackson proudly flashing the corporate card as they settled into their business class seats. Amanda probably felt vindicated in her choice, trading a stable relationship for luxury and excitement. At 10:15, the app showed the final boarding call. At 10:25, the cabin doors closed. At 10:32, the plane pushed back from the gate. Once the flight status updated to in air, I took out my phone and composed a text to Jackson. "I know about you and Amanda. You are fired. Corporate card deactivated. Enjoy Paris. I hit send, then immediately called our HR director. Martha, I need to terminate Jackson Turner effective immediately, I said when she answered. Is there a problem? She asked, surprised. Unauthorized use of company resources for personal expenses, falsified reports, and breach of the employee code of conduct, I explained calmly. I have documentation ready for review. Martha was understandably concerned but agreed to process the termination once I forwarded the evidence. I sent her screenshots of the travel receipts, along with a detailed explanation of how they violated company policy. My next call was to our finance department. I need to report a compromised corporate card, I told the director. Jackson Turner. His employment has been terminated, and there is evidence of unauthorized use. Within minutes, the card was flagged and a cancellation order issued. Any pending authorizations would be declined, and any new attempts to use the card would fail. For the final touch, I logged into our booking system and canceled the hotel reservation in Paris, which had been secured, but not yet charged to the card. The cancellation went through without penalty, since the stay had not yet begun. By 11:30, less than an hour after their takeoff, I had systematically dismantled their Parisian escape. They were now 6 miles above the Atlantic, blissfully unaware that they would land with no hotel reservation, no access to funds, and in Jackson's case, no job. I felt a profound sense of satisfaction as I imagined the moment they would discover what I had done. There would be panic, anger, desperate attempts to salvage their trip. They would turn to each other, their newfound romance, immediately tested by crisis. Throughout the day, I maintained my normal routine, attending meetings and reviewing project proposals. Colleagues who knew about Jackson's vacation asked if I had heard from him, and I simply mentioned that he had decided to pursue other opportunities. In a company of our size, people came and went frequently enough that his sudden departure raised few questions. Around 8 that evening, 7 hours into their flight, my phone began to light up with notifications. First came text messages from Amanda, each more frantic than the last. What did you do? Our hotel reservation is gone. Jackson's card is not working. Then came emails from Jackson moving quickly, from confusion to anger to pleading. There must be some mistake with my corporate card. This is unprofessional and potentially illegal termination. Please reconsider, I can explain everything. I read each message with detached interest, making no move to respond. They had made their choices, crafting their betrayal with careful deliberation over weeks or possibly months. Now they would face the consequences with equal deliberation. The messages continued through the night, becoming increasingly desperate. Amanda called repeatedly, leaving voicemails that evolved from angry accusations to tearful apologies. Jackson's messages similarly transformed his initial indignation, giving way to recognition of his professional suicide. By morning, I had dozens of missed calls and unread messages. I blocked both their numbers and email addresses, severing their ability to reach me directly. They would have to find another way out of their situation, just as they had found their way into it without any consideration for me. Later that day, Amanda's best friend Taylor called me. What you did was cruel, she began without preamble. What exactly did I do? I asked calmly. Left them stranded in Paris without money or a place to stay. They had to borrow euros from strangers just to get to the embassy. I let out a small laugh. Is that what Amanda told you? That I somehow controlled her new boyfriend's finances and travel arrangements? Taylor hesitated. She said you got him fired and canceled their hotel. I made a neutral sound. Amanda left me for another man. That man happened to be my employee who was misusing company resources. The company took appropriate action once this came to light. That is the entire story. They are stuck there. Taylor continued, her voice less certain. Her parents are having to wire money for economy tickets home. That sounds like a problem for Amanda, her parents, and her new boyfriend, I replied evenly. Not for me. After ending the call with Taylor, I felt no remorse, but I did feel something shifting inside me. The initial satisfaction of revenge was fading, leaving room for reflection. I had responded to their betrayal with a calculated strike of my own. Was I any better than they were? The difference, I decided, was that my actions were a response to their deception, not its initiation. I had not sought to hurt innocent people, but had merely ensured that those who caused pain faced appropriate consequences. Still, I recognized that holding on to this anger would only prolong my own suffering. It was time to focus on healing and moving forward. 1 week passed, then 2. Through mutual friends, I heard that Amanda and Jackson had managed to secure economy tickets home after 5 days stranded in Paris. Apparently, their romantic adventure had devolved into cramped quarters at a budget hostel and bitter arguments over whose fault their predicament was. I focused on myself during this time. I started seeing a therapist to process the betrayal and my response to it. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my relationship with Amanda. I threw myself into work, finding solace in the logical problems of software development that, unlike human relationships, had clear solutions. 3 weeks after the Paris incident, Amanda appeared at my apartment door. She looked different, worn down, less polished than I remembered. I almost closed the door immediately, but decided to hear what she had to say. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice small. I stepped aside to let her in, maintaining a careful emotional distance. She sat stiffly on the edge of the sofa where we had once spent lazy Sunday mornings. "That was stupid what we did," she began. I was confused, thinking I wanted something different, something exciting. I said nothing, waiting for her to continue. "Jackson and I are done," she added, as if this news should matter to me. "He turned out to be immature, selfish, nothing like you." I nodded slowly. "Did you come here, expecting a reconciliation?" Her eyes darted up to meet mine, hope visibly flaring. "Would you consider it? We were good together, Linus. 3 years is a long time to just throw away." I considered her question carefully before responding. "You did not think those 3 years mattered when you packed your bags and walked out. You did not consider reconciliation when you were planning trips with my employee behind my back." I did not choose my words to hurt her, merely to state facts. Her face crumpled slightly. "That is not fair," she protested weakly. "No, it was not fair," I agreed. "None of this was fair. But it is reality, the reality you created." She began to cry, tears tracking through her makeup. "I thought you loved me." "I did," I acknowledged. "But love requires trust and respect. Both are gone now." We talked for another half hour, Amanda alternating between apologies and subtle attempts to place partial blame on me for being too focused on work, too predictable, too comfortable. In the end, she left with the few remaining items she had stored in my closet and the understanding that our relationship was irreversibly over. The next day, I received an email from Jackson. Unlike Amanda, he made no attempt to justify their behavior. His message was straightforward, a simple apology, acknowledging the inexcusable breach of trust and professional ethics. He asked for nothing, not even forgiveness. I appreciated his directness, but did not respond. Some broken things cannot be repaired. Over the following months, I gradually rebuilt my life. I adopted a second dog, a rescue mutt named Bella, to keep Cooper company. I accepted a promotion at work that I had previously hesitated to take because Amanda had not wanted me to travel more. I renovated my apartment, replacing furniture and repainting walls to erase the visual reminders of my previous life. 6 months after the breakup, I attended a tech conference in Vancouver. During a panel discussion on ethical AI development, I found myself engaged in conversation with one of the other attendees, Sophia Wright. She was brilliant, challenging my viewpoints with insights I had not considered. We continued our debate over coffee, then dinner, finding common ground in our passion for technology that served human needs rather than exploiting them. Unlike my immediate chemistry with Amanda, my connection with Sophia, built gradually, founded on mutual respect and honest communication. When I eventually told her about my previous relationship and its spectacular implosion, she listened without judgment. "That must have been incredibly painful," she said simply. "But I understand why you responded as you did. I would probably handle it differently now," I admitted. Sophia smiled. "Growth often comes from our worst experiences." By the time autumn arrived, Sophia and I had developed a relationship that felt fundamentally different from anything I had experienced before. There was no game playing, no hidden agendas, no careful calculation of what to reveal and what to conceal. We simply were ourselves, accepting each other's strengths and flaws with equal measure. At a charity gala, similar to the one where I had met Amanda 8 months earlier, I unexpectedly found myself face to face with my ex. She was there with a new man, older and obviously wealthy. When she saw me with Sophia, a flash of something like regret crossed her features. "You look happy," she said quietly, when we had a moment alone. "I am," I replied honestly. "I think about what happened sometimes," she continued. "How differently it could have gone." I nodded. "Me too. But then, I would not be where I am now." It was true. As painful as the betrayal had been, it had ultimately freed me from a relationship that was not what I thought it was. It had taught me to value honesty above comfort, truth above illusion. Most importantly, it had shown me that even in our darkest moments, we have choices about how to respond and who to become. When Sophia and I began planning a trip together months later, we chose Paris. It seemed fitting somehow to create new memories in the city that had featured so prominently in my past. Standing with her on the observation deck of the Eiffel Tower, watching the city of lights spread out below us, I realized that the worst betrayals can sometimes lead us to our best lives if we have the courage to learn and grow from them. Life rarely follows the path we expect. Relationships end, trusted people betray us, carefully laid plans collapse. But in those moments of devastation, we discover our true resilience. We learn that happiness is not found in perfect, untroubled relationships, but in authentic ones built on mutual respect and honesty. Sometimes you have to lose what you thought you wanted to find, what you truly need. What is your story of betrayal and growth? Have you ever had to make difficult choices when faced with deception? Share your experience in the comments below, and do not forget to like and subscribe if this story resonated with you. Remember, even our darkest moments can lead to unexpected light if we keep moving forward. Thank you for listening, and until next time, choose honesty in all your relationships, even when it is difficult, especially then.